Okay, so she called. And I just let it ring. Like, 5 times. Then I picked up. The phone felt heavy in my hand, like a brick. Or maybe a particularly dense potato. "What do you want?" I said. My voice sounded rough, like I'd been gargling gravel. She launched into it. Something about needing my help. Again. Always with the needs, you know? Like she's some kind of charity case that just keeps on needing. This time it was about some money. For a deposit. On an apartment. A new place. Apparently, her old place was a problem. Again. Something about the landlord. Or the neighbors. Or the gnats. It's always something. "I don't have it," I said. The words felt flat. Like deflated balloons. "But you always help me," she pushed. Her voice got that little tremor it does. Like she's trying to convince herself more than me. It's a classic. The little waver. The almost cry. Gets me every time. Or, it used to. And yeah, I usually do. Every damn time. Remember that car breakdown? The one where her ancient Corolla decided to impersonate a smoke machine? Or when she needed someone to bail her out of that, never mind. Seriously, some things are better left unsaid. Like the time she borrowed my favorite hoodie and it came back smelling faintly of desperation and cheap perfume. This time though, something shifted. It wasn't a big dramatic thing. More like a slow erosion. I looked at the pile of unopened mail on the counter. A bill from the electric company. The red and white envelope looked aggressive. A flyer for a pizza place. The usual suspects. Coupons for things I'd never order. And then there was this postcard. From some beach I'd never heard of. Somewhere tropical, probably. With a picture of a donkey wearing a hat. A straw hat. It was ridiculously cheerful. I still have no idea who sent it. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was a sign. A sign of what, I don't know. Maybe just a sign that someone out there has a donkey with a hat. "I can't," I said again. Firmly this time. I tried to inject some steel into my voice. Like I was a superhero of saying no. Or a reluctant dictator. Whichever. There was this long pause. Like she was recomputing. Trying to find a new angle. A fresh approach. The digital equivalent of her scrunching up her face and thinking really, really hard. I could almost hear the whirring of imaginary gears. "But Caden," she started. "Don't use my name," I said. It felt important. Like drawing a line in the sand. Or maybe just a smudge. And a click. She hung up. Just like that. No dramatic pronouncements. No threats. Just a clean disconnect. The silence that followed was loud. It was a different kind of loud than the ringing phone. This was the absence of sound. The void. I could hear the refrigerator humming. A steady, low drone. Like a forgotten lullaby. And then, a dog barking somewhere down the street. A single, insistent yip. Then another. Then a whole chorus. Or maybe it was just one dog, working itself into a frenzy. So yeah. That was it. The end of an era. Or maybe just the end of a phone call. Who's to say? I went to the kitchen. Made myself a glass of water. The ice cubes clinked against the glass, a sharp, almost aggressive sound. They were perfect cubes, too. Little frozen soldiers. I watched them melt, slowly. Each one a tiny, temporary monument. Mind you, this isn't the first time I've said no. I've said no before. To requests. To demands. To obligations. But it feels different. Like a switch flipped. A tiny, seismic shift. The ground beneath my feet hadn't moved, but something inside me had. A subtle recalibration. She probably thinks I'm being a jerk. And maybe I am. Let's be honest, I probably am. But honestly, the thought of her calling again. Of the whole song and dance, the elaborate charade of her needs and my reluctant fulfillments, just made my left knee start bouncing and I couldn't stop it. It was like it had a mind of its own, this frantic little thrumming. A nervous tick that had finally found its voice. Or its leg. Remember that time in high school? When she convinced me to cover for her and we ended up writing a whole essay on, like, fungi? The intricate world of mycelium and spores. And I got a C-. A solid, uninspiring C-. She got an A. An actual A, said she helped me with the research. The nerve. She'd clearly done the bulk of it. Then slapped my name on it, and somehow it was my fault it wasn't perfect. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The essay incident is a whole other can of worms. And I don't even want to think about worms right now. She'll probably call again tomorrow. Or send a text. A passive-aggressive string of emojis. She always does. And then I'll have to deal with the guilt. The familiar, slimy guilt that coats my insides like old motor oil. The kind that sticks to everything. The kind you can't scrub off. But for now, there's just the water. And the quiet. And that postcard of the donkey with the hat. Still on the counter. Mocking me. Or maybe just being there. A silent witness to my minor rebellion. Who knows? It was a Thursday. Or maybe Friday. The day before. I was at work. The air was thick with the smell of stale coffee and desperation. This guy came in, you know, the one who always smells like old coffee grounds and disappointment. He asked me if I'd seen his stapler. The red one. Like I would have any idea. I don't even have a stapler. I told him that. He looked at me like I'd just sprouted a second head. Then he mumbled something about management and shuffled off. And then she called. And I didn't answer. That was the beginning of it. Or maybe the middle. I don't really remember the start. It all blurs together, a long, drawn-out melodrama. The whole thing just feels dusty. Like an old book left in the attic. Pages yellowed. Spine cracked. Smells like mothballs and regret. It's the kind of book you pick up, flip through a few pages, and then immediately put back down. Too much effort. Too much history. She'll probably try the guilt trip next. Or feign helplessness. She's a master. An absolute prodigy of passive aggression. A virtuoso of the victim complex. And the worst part is, I used to fall for it. Every single time. It was like a reflex. A Pavlovian response. Ring the bell, I give you money. But not this time. I saw through it. Or at least, I'm trying to. It's hard, you know? Years of ingrained response patterns. Like muscle memory. Like trying to teach an old dog new tricks. Except I'm the old dog. And the trick is not giving in. I remember one time, she needed money for a concert ticket. Said it was her one chance to see her favorite band. The band that was apparently going to change her life. So I gave her my entire paycheck. Every last dollar. And then later, I saw her on social media. At the concert. With a bunch of other people. And she'd bought an extra ticket. For her friend. Who, by the way, I also apparently owed money to for some reason. It was a whole complicated web of borrowed favors and unpaid debts that I never even knew existed. So yeah. This time is different. I can feel it. Like a low hum under my skin. A vibration. A subtle tremor that says, this is it. No more. She'll be mad. Of course she will. She'll probably spread rumors. Or say I'm selfish. Or worse. She'll paint me as the villain in her epic saga of woe. But I'm done. I'm just done. The phone is still there. On the counter. Silent. Waiting. Taunting me with its stillness. And I'm just standing here. Drinking my water. The ice has mostly melted. The water is lukewarm now. Not as refreshing. The dog is still barking. Or maybe it's a different dog now. A little further away. A more distant lament. Or maybe it's the same dog, just getting tired. Or more determined. The postcard is still there too. That donkey. Still wearing its hat. It's a ridiculous image. But also, kind of peaceful. In its own absurd way. Whatever. I need to call the dentist. My tooth has been acting up. A dull ache. Like a tiny, persistent drummer. I walked into the living room. Sat down on the couch. The cushions sighed under my weight. The TV was off. Just a black screen reflecting the dim light from the window. The outside world was starting to darken. The streetlights flickered on, one by one. Like hesitant stars. I thought about calling someone. Anyone. Just to hear another voice. But who? And what would I say? Hey, I didn't give my sister money. It was weird. Not exactly riveting conversation. I picked up the postcard. The paper was slightly rough. The image was printed on glossy paper. The donkey's eyes were blank. Unseeing. Or maybe they were full of ancient wisdom. Hard to tell with a donkey. I put the postcard back down. It was just a postcard. A piece of cardboard. The silence in the apartment was settling in. It wasn't just the absence of noise anymore. It was a presence. A heavy blanket. It felt clean. Like I'd just scrubbed the whole place down with bleach. I thought about what she might be doing right now. Probably pacing. Probably rehearsing her next move. Her next plea. Her next manipulation. She's good at that. Really good. Like a seasoned actress. She's been performing for years. And I've been her most loyal audience member. The guy who always buys a ticket, even when he knows the show's going to be terrible. But tonight, I walked out. Or rather, I stayed put. I didn't even go to the theater. I wondered if she'd try to call my parents. That would be a classic move. Get the cavalry involved. The parental unit. They'd probably side with her. They usually do. She's your sister, Caden. You have to help her. Easy for them to say. They don't have to deal with the daily onslaught. The constant drain. I stood up. Walked back into the kitchen. Opened the refrigerator. Stared into the abyss of Tupperware containers and half-empty bottles of condiments. Nothing appealed. Nothing called to me. I closed the door. Leaned against the counter. The cool laminate felt good against my forehead. I thought about that essay on fungi. I could still remember some of the facts. The hyphae. The spores. The decomposition process. It's all about breaking things down. Recycling. Rebirth. Maybe that's what I was doing. Breaking down a pattern. Preparing for a rebirth. A rebirth of my own boundaries. My own finances. My own sanity. I picked up the phone. Looked at the screen. No new notifications. No missed calls. Just the blank, waiting interface. I put the phone down again. The dog downstairs had finally stopped barking. Or maybe it had moved to a different street. Or maybe I'd just tuned it out. It was hard to tell. Everything was starting to blend together. The sounds. The smells. The feelings. I walked over to the window. Looked out at the night. The city lights blurred into streaks of color. The air felt cool on my face. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. Or the day after that. But for tonight, at least, I said no. And the world didn't end. The sky didn't fall. The refrigerator kept humming. The postcard donkey kept its hat on. And I was just here. Drinking water. And breathing. And not giving in. It wasn't a victory. Not really. More like a truce. A temporary ceasefire. But it was something. It was a start. And that, I guess, was enough for now. I went back to the couch. Sat down. The cushion still sighed. The TV screen was still black. The silence was still loud. But maybe, just maybe, it was a little less oppressive now. A little more mine. I decided to watch something. Anything. Just to fill the quiet. I scrolled through the streaming services. Endless options. Endless possibilities. But nothing really grabbed me. It was all just noise. Distraction. I turned the TV off. The postcard was still on the counter. The donkey. Still wearing its hat. Unfazed. Unmoved. A silent, stoic observer. Whatever.